how can I help you? Okay. What, like from a sure? What year is it? Because some of the 2015s, the connectors are just not out there yet for them. Sure. Do you have the board? Because we don't really do if you're local, that would be fine. We don't really do mail-ins for iMacs. If you're a repair store, we could if it's just the connector, we could do that board only. But that wouldn't cover any damage upon reassembly or anything like that. But if possible, send us a picture of the connector, and we can let you know if we can do that. So if it's 2010, it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, then that would work fine. Depending on some of the connectors, depending on where they source it from, can be pretty poor quality. If we may even have that connector if it's from a 2010. I'm not sure if it's the same. So just email us a picture, and that would be 130 plus shipping, return shipping. Yes. Uh, didn't hear you. You're cutting in and out a little bit. Yeah, around there. Depending on the size of the package, where most of the stuff is going to be FedEx one rate. So sometimes it can be, if it's a larger box, it would be 1905. But let me know if there's anything else I can help you with. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Bye. Okay, so this is a 820000923. I've already been working on it. This is just finishing up some stuff. So this one was pretty corroded. It's working for the most part now, but the SSD circuit right around here was destroyed. I need to touch up some of this stuff. It looks just nasty. Had to rebuild all of this. And then this is our regulator for our 2V7 NAND power. This was corroded and the pad was missing, so I have to make a little jumper from that cap to those pins. The trackpad connector right here, had to replace this and also run wires to the main power line for that. So I just have to finish up conformal coating this. So it's largely just going to be finishing this up and testing. Should work, at least I hope it'll work, because the original complaint was intermittent SSD. However, given the fact of how these areas looked, it wouldn't, I'm fairly confident that the issue has been addressed. So we just have to make a little jumper wire. Sorry, I was multitasking, reading something at the same time. So the way this chip, there's going to be two pins. It's either for your input or output, I don't know. One pad was fine, so it was still working. It was likely just not supplying the load, or the chip was partially dead from the liquid, which is always a possibility. I really want this wire to stay and not move, but that's going to be close to impossible because gravity doesn't apply to a wire this size. Sometimes stripping the coating off can be helpful. That's what I'm going to do right here. I suck at running jumper wires. Especially when it's in a really tight area like this, it's just a pain. I'm going to clean this up and inspect it, just to make sure it's on the chip and not bridged or anything, and then I'll conformal coat it. That worked out nicely, says Nasera. Wasn't the best jumper, but not the worst. I don't like to leave flux on anything, so I try and clean it really good. Part of it is when I get a board that is covered in flux, it really makes me angry. So I kind of like to clean up after my own mess when I'm working on these things. Okay, so not quite on the other pin of the chip. I want to make sure both are. Now, that pin is probably, it would be fine like that. However, usually when you have two pins like that, it's for load. So if one pin, the load isn't, how am I going to say this? So if it's a high amperage line, sometimes you'll have two pins because one pin wouldn't have enough, wouldn't be able to handle the currents, just so they give you two if it's under load frequently. Or you guys know what I mean. I don't make much sense right now. But that's what the purpose of the two pins are usually. There, that's much better. If you leave a little bit of flux like that on there, that's not a problem at all. I have seen flux on backlight drivers that cause issues, so on those I always like to ultrasonic. It's just because the backlight driver is such a high amperage line that if you get anything under there whatsoever that is even slightly corrosive, it will generally corrode. Now, most fluxes are corrosive, but heating them removes the acids or whatever's in them that are corrosive, so it generally won't be a problem, but heating doesn't get rid of them all. That's why I like to ultrasonically clean most every board. Sometimes you'll get some random shop that's going to complain that you water damage their board because the ultrasonic is going to change the liquid damage indicators to red, of course, if they weren't already red. So sometimes you'll get some complaining person that is going to say, well, you water damaged my board and did this, and it wasn't water damaged when I sent it, now it's water damaged, and those kind of people, just go somewhere else. The thing I've been having an issue with is, so I give wholesale rates to other repair shops. That's a given, because if you're a repair shop, you know, you bill your customer and you expect a little bit of discount. But with those rates, I expect some level of competence. What I mean by that is, let's say there's an issue with it after. So with those, I generally, if they have an issue with their trackpad or keyboard, I'll put it in the notes and stuff like that. So if generally, sometimes even if something is working and I see it's corroded, I'll clean it, but then recommend replacement if there's issues or some stuff like that. And a lot of times what will happen is, even with a repair store, you're going to get blamed if something like that stops working. So with the discounted rate, there really has to be a line to what is of who gets that rate, because not all repair shops are competent and are going to send their device back when something other than your work fails. So this is the UV light, just to cure the conformal coating. I changed the battery in it, so it should be fairly quick now compared to before. to be good there. So next area that I'm going to inspect is the trackpad connector, because last time I saw this it was covered in flux and I couldn't really tell if I had any bridges or anything I needed to address, but I don't think I will. Looks pretty good, all pins are making contact. How about this side? Yep, looks good, so I'm just going to coat this all up. It's hard to see in person, I mean on the camera, but you can tell when the stuff is cured because it changes from like a dark or almost black to lighter green. So I turn the light off so I can see that. Pretty cool though. It looks nothing like it does on camera in person. You can barely see it in person. It's just a little bit like a blue tint over the board, when on the camera it's overwhelming. "20 people watching and chat is fairly slow. Usually it's busier when that many people are watching." What did I miss? Not much. Just finishing up this board and conformal coating stuff. I didn't stream the repair on this one because it would have been extremely boring. It was just it wasn't any, in-depth diagnostics. It was just replacing messed up looking stuff. Who's that person, Anthony? Wednesday, worst day of the week after Monday. Uh, just another day. I took I'd say my first consistent 2 days off this weekend since pretty much starting my business. Every time I tell myself I'm going to take time off, it never happens. I always end up coming into work. I have no idea who that person is, Anthony. You going because you get bored or you want to get stuff done? Mostly because I get bored because I really have nothing to do outside of work. So, yeah, I pretty much just get bored and come in, so. I hate being bored. I can't see just sitting around doing nothing all day. I have to do something, even if. I'm honestly getting a little bit bored of MacBook repair too. I've been looking for other stuff to fix that I can do. In addition to this, of course, I'm um, not going to quit doing MacBook repair, but I've been getting boards like this. I'll show you guys in a minute, but just looking for some other stuff to work on too that'll challenge my mind because I don't. The thing with MacBook repair is it's largely just um 1 second. Hi, how can I help you? Hi, how's it going? No, I did not. Okay. What's going on? Okay. That is okay. The A1502s are 240. Yes. That's yes. End user would be 380. Um, the board itself is probably $600 to $800 depending on the specs on it. And at Apple it's usually going to be either six if it's not liquid damage, usually 600 out of warranty. If it is liquid damage, it's tier 4 repair, and that's like 1200. Oh yeah, probably less. It's usually 5 to 7 days. Okay, sounds good. Bye. This time I really just didn't do anything. I just dealt with being bored. So there's that. I just dealt with being bored for 2 days, and it was kind of miserable, but at the same time I enjoyed the rest. Because I haven't really rested in a long time. To be honest, I tried imagining myself doing what you or Lewis do, MacBooks all day long, and I think I would go crazy in a week. If I didn't have work, I would go crazy in a few days. I need work. I think it's just my mind constantly needs to be kept busy or else it just won't work correctly. So that's good right there. Next area I want to touch up is over here, because I was probably half asleep when I soldered this stuff. As you can see, it looks really lousy. Like, look, what is this? So that kind of stuff would work just fine. It just, you know, I can't have that on there. This area is honestly pretty lousy for MacBook repair. That I'm finding out is just no one wants to pay for it. It's like $300. They expect it to, you know, when you tell someone, you know, like $240 or $300, that was for a repair store. The customer just completely acts so shocked. Like, with what, $300 to fix my, you know, $1,500 device? That's absurd. I'm going to go somewhere else. But the thing is out here you won't find somewhere else. You will find maybe someone that's going to charge $100 and refill your CPU, but you're not going to find someone else to fix it properly. Yeah, Nasara, I 100% understand that. That's same exact thing. It's like if, yeah, you, like sitting around, you're not really useful for anything, so you might as well, you know, do something in that time. What happened to this board? Well, someone decided to throw their drink on it, and the rest is self-explanatory. Yeah, but being bored is a terrible feeling. So this is one of the new Touch Bar MacBooks that has the soldered on SSD, and you see we had to run a wire over here to one of the capacitors going right into the NAND chip. So we're going to conformal coat that. I don't want that grounding at any point in time. And that wire broke. So I didn't like how that was anyway. So what I'm going to do is kind of loop that around like this. I don't mind having days off, doing nothing, but when I'm at work, I like to work. My bosses try and force me to take breaks, so I go away for a minute and then come back. That's one way to do it. And then sneak back in when the boss isn't looking and go back to work. That's probably something I would do. I wouldn't like to be forced to take time off. Another thing, having your own business, like, for me example, if I want to come in on a holiday or on Sunday or whatever, I want to be able to come in and not have, only certain times I could come work. Have you ever tried to repair graphics cards or PC motherboards? No. That's kind of a waste of time. I think I probably repaired, yeah, I've repaired Razer motherboards on those piece of junk $3,000 gaming PCs. I've repaired some of those. Graphics cards, no. Even if my own graphics card breaks, which what's funny is it was actually giving me artifacts last night, I would probably either reflow it or just buy a new one. That's the kind of stuff I would do with my own stuff, but never on a customer's computer, because on my own stuff I really don't care. The last thing I want to do at the end of the day is fix my own stuff. You need reminders. Reminders for what? A job without intensive thinking tasks, I don't think I could do it. It would get too repetitive, and that's what I'm finding now with a majority of a lot of these repairs is it's not making me think anymore. I'm one of those people that I need to be able to think, or else I get bored with something fairly quickly. But yeah, being told to stop when you're in the middle of something, that would annoy me. Because sometimes if, you have momentum and motivation and you're doing good, and then you stop, you can sometimes lose that that momentum you had going, so then you come back and you're not working as efficient or whatever, and yeah, that would bother me, because sometimes I just like to work straight, and this is something probably not very healthy, is working, all day and not stopping for a break or to eat or anything like that, and that's something I'm trying not to do as much anymore. And I'm also trying not to stay here until extremely late hours at night. But that's probably something temporary that I'll eventually start doing again. Yeah, solving problems is fun, even if it's not That's something I also enjoy doing, is just solving problems on just whatever, make something work again. Doesn't matter what it is, but this is something that used to get me a lot more when I had my home office, is not being able to sleep knowing there's still a problem with something, and then, working on that until you solve it. That can be fun when you're just chasing down a problem, can't solve it, and then, get up in the middle of the night and have a dream of that problem, and then going and solving it. That can be fun. Just change the SMC and get it over with. Tony, I'm not going to take an SMC from your random bag of SMCs and put it on this touch bar board. I have a couple boards here from a welder. With circuit boards, I'll fix pretty much anything. I just enjoy circuit board work, and that's what got me into this, is not really MacBook repair, just circuit board repair in general. The thing with MacBook repair, at least my market, it's starting to kind of go down the drain. Just with people wanting everything for $100, and a lot of these repair stores, they expect that. They're so used to being charged $100 for iPhone board repair because people just drag the industry down with these low rates, that they start expecting that on MacBooks. And then what happens there is they end up sending the device to someone that actually charges $100. The $100 guy screws it up, then the customer sends it to me, and there's nothing I can do, and I end up wasting a week trying to fix it, only to find out at the end that the guy reflowed the CPU or something like that. That's just irritating. I'll probably actually repair that one board from a welder on stream. It's a relatively simple issue. A lot simpler than one of these boards, and it's a lot simpler, and it pays. I can charge pretty much just about the same. It's all through-hole stuff, not surface mount. But you also get the same thing, that he goes to somewhere else that someone doesn't know what they're doing, and then you get left with a bigger problem. I think that's good. Now these are very important. These lifeboat connectors, if you leave this off, it will give you a question mark. I read about that in the Facebook group, people taking way less money than they should. Yeah, I remember that one post. Yeah, that guy was wanted so there's two issues there. First, the original customer didn't want to pay. He said, well, I don't want to pay over $200 for this, and then then this guy comments, "Oh yeah, just $100 and I'll fix it and this and that," and that's where your real issue is, because it's not only. So here's the thing that I think about. If you have good skills, generally you know that your skills are worth more than $100, so you charge more. Um, if generally when people charge that cheap, it's they're most likely still learning. They don't really know what they're doing, and that's why you get the cheap rates. Now, if you're a legitimate business that knows what you're doing and charges that cheap, then you're just ruining your own market. By lowering your prices that low, you're basically digging your own grave. So I'm probably one of the most expensive in the country for this as well, and there's a reason for it. No, I'm not going to lower my rates. If anything, my rates might go up, but they're not going down. Because stuff gets sent here that no one else can fix, and that's why it gets sent here. Yes, it might take longer to fix it, but it's... Oh, come on, there's more corroded stuff that I missed. Just a little bit. That I could touch up. That's not that bad, but I want to pull that shield and have a look under the shield. I think there's another NAND chip under this shield. Not 100% sure. Whatever it is, it doesn't look bad, so. And that's another problem with advertising on Facebook and stuff. That's what you'll get. I really, really want to get off that platform altogether, but I was thinking about it. I deactivated my account last night, but then thought about it. I still get a lot of referrals from there, so I can't really do away with it yet, but which sucks because I really wanted to be done with it. But it has to stay a little bit longer until more people go through the website, not through Messenger and stuff like that. So, pretty much ready for reassembly, except for this little spot, so I'm going to touch that up. Those resistors don't need to be replaced, they're fine. They're just a little bit corroded. Why do you want to go off of it? A few reasons. So, one is, I guess I could just disable notifications, but I get bugged a lot on there. Secondly, the market on there, it just attracts just a lot of just morons. But it's just a few reasons. I mean, that these resistors are beyond refurbishment. So that means I'll have to find a resistor for that. Yeah, there's not even any pad there left. Actually, there was. So Apple does something on this board, and on a lot of the new boards, here's what I notice, is they use a lot of odd values of resistors and stuff. And I don't really know what the purpose of that is. Like one was 1.3 milliohms. Well, I searched for 1.3 milliohm on another board. I couldn't find it, so I just used a 1 milliohm and it was fine. I don't know if that's something they're kind of purposely doing to troll the repair people or what, but it's generally the values and stuff like that aren't going to matter too much as long as it's close. The one thing that does matter is the you'll see on a lot of these new boards they have either 3 or 12 picofarad capacitors, And what those are for is for noise and stuff for Wi-Fi, either 2.4. I think 3 is for 2.4, and 5 is 12. That is for noise on Wi-Fi, and that is semi-important. Okay, so I have to figure out what value that is. That's for something with USB, so kind of important. And that is a 15 ohm resistor, and I think this one right over here is the same. So I'll just knock out both of these. Yep, those are both, well, one of those is a 3.3. See, this is what I mean. 3.3K, that doesn't sound like a normal value. Might be, so. I'm going to find this on a 820-00875. Another issue with Facebook and a lot of the repair groups is it's kind of hard not to argue with people sometimes. Like, people will argue, it's the GPU or it's the CPU, and I reflowed it and now it works, and you'll basically get into an argument with that person because, well, for me, when someone says something stupid like that, it's kind of hard for me to refrain from telling them the truth and how they're wrong. So I guess that's another issue in and of itself, but yeah, that's this kind of stuff you'll get. To find that resistor on a different board because I don't have an exact owner for this one. Um, it's kind of an odd one. Yeah, that's true. Just pick your battles and let them believe what they want to believe. That's kind of a good solution too. But the fundamental problem of it is that kind of thing starts to become widespread. When one moron says it, another moron is going to pick up that, and then it starts turning into something where 10 people start doing it, and then I start getting junk. Okay. Sorry about that. Come on, heat up. I need to buy some more tips for my iron. All my tips are just worn out. I've always wondered what TCRS stood for. I wonder the same thing every day, because I have no idea how I came up with that. It's one of those things that just happened, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, sometimes I come up with weird stuff. It kind of worked, though. I mean, where is 15 ohm resistor? I know you have to have one here. I think part of it may have been when I started my business, I didn't really intend on doing just um, MacBook repair. It was kind of spread out to where it was just circuit board repairs, and I guess at that point I wasn't really thinking because I ended up primarily just targeting MacBook repair. But it worked out. I mean, when I was starting, I just wanted to repair boards in general. Didn't matter what kind of board, just any kind of board. And then MacBooks were kind of the easiest way to apply that, so I just started advertising for MacBooks and stuff, and for a long time it was slow. For a long time I really didn't have any work, um, especially locally, and this is what I'm finding out now is just this area. So when I started, I think I was targeting only local, and that was kind of a mistake because there just isn't much work local. And of course, is a 15 ohm resistor under this darn shield that I have to take off? And what do you know, it's under the darn USB-C shield. Alright, so I have to take this off the donor board to get my resistor, and that means I'm going to order, wait a second, my camera froze. Give me 1 second on that. What in the heck happened? So my microscope was frozen this whole time. There we go. So I'm going to pull this shield off. This one isn't too bad. I'm just complaining. Thank you, Nasara. It did end up being a pretty good name, I guess. See, the thing is, a name like MacBook Fix would get more business on MacBooks than what I get. I was gonna buy, so last week I bought another domain for another website, logicboard.repair. I was trying to get macbookrepair.com, but the domain was $5,000 a year, and I really didn't want to spend $5,000 a year for that domain, so I decided not to buy it. But the new website it's not really a new website, it's going to be supplementary to my existing one, but it's going to be, the domain is going to be logicboard.repair. So that should do pretty well for SEO. What is Hi complaining about? Okay, so now we have to reassemble this thing. See if it works. We clean off the heatsink. Hi, I told you to do that already. I told you, like, several months ago to call him. The likes almost match up to the amount of viewers. That's a good thing. Trying to get more watch hours. I'm at a little over 2,000 watch hours in the last year, and I need 4,000 to have super chat and stuff like that. So I really dislike assembling these touch bars. They are an absolute pain. There's our nice clean Skylake CPU die that hasn't died yet. Give it a few months and it'll probably have a dead CPU. Skylake is probably one of the most unreliable. I might need a better mic. What's wrong with my mic? I just got a expensive one and people still complain about it. I never get it. This thermal paste is Arctic MX4. It's one of the better ones that I've used, and it's really cheap too. It's non-conductive. I don't like the conductive thermal pastes because a lot of times people will spill them over and ruin stuff. Now these are a little bit of a pain because unlike on most MacBooks, the screws are on one side. On these, they are on the other side of the board. So you kind of have to keep the heatsink pressed down. The thermal paste is usually enough to keep it secure because it's kind of tacky. And then after you can line it up and put the screws in it. Let's see if I can find where I put my screwdriver. Found the screwdriver, but now I can't find my T5 bit, which is just as bad. Here it is. Right now your voice sounds like you're using a mediocre headset over Skype. It's I've listened to videos and haven't had a problem with it. Everyone complains. I think if I got the same mic Lewis had, people are still going to complain about it. I've listened back on videos and it really... Maybe it's my voice. Seriously, maybe it's just my voice that you guys are hearing and complaining about. I don't know. Yeah, if it's choppy, that is YouTube and AT&T's lousy internet. Plus, there's a call center next door, so that doesn't help. And here's their trap of a display cable. I've had a habit of um, leaving this out, reassembling the machine, putting all the screws in, and then realizing that I didn't put the display cable back on. That's never fun. I need to get the chassis, and that is locked up, so I have to go in here and unlock it. Hopefully the screen works on this. Because it looked like it was dropped pretty hard. Okay, now you guys get to laugh at me while reassembling one of these touch bars because I hate working on these. Let's see, should I move the camera so it's kind of... Let's see. How's that? Wait. USB-C port. USB-C port is in here on this side. Here's one. Doesn't have to be the same one, it just has to be a compatible one. Or who knows from... Yeah, this isn't burned. Wait a second, that one's burned. Oh, right here. I was looking at the wrong screw holder. A lot of people organize their screws and have them all on mats, but I have these memorized fairly well. So I just throw all the screws in one container like this with the slot number on it, and I'm good to go. Of course, if you're someone that will long screw stuff constantly, then probably best to get a screw holder. One thing that really always throws me off is when people send stuff with screws missing or the bottom case screws missing, because then I'll end up replacing the bottom case screws. So it's... or I'll end up forgetting or I'll start looking for the screw that was missing originally, stuff like that, but generally this works. I need my T5. Take pictures of everything. I used to do that. I stopped doing that because taking pictures of stuff all day long tends not to be fun. Yeah, like on the first device though, I get that I do that too. But I couldn't do it all day long. Generally I just try and remember it, but then I'll end up forgetting usually. Careful not to rip the Touch ID cable on these, or the touch bar cable, whatever you guys call it. Because I'm pretty sure it's useless after that. Of course, it's probably a good idea I don't say anything like that, because that exact same thing will end up happening to me. White noise hissing. Okay, what that is the fume extractor. See, I'm sure it went away now. Okay, well, if the stream isn't 100% pleasant, then you can click the X button in the corner of your screen and go do something else for the rest of your day that is pleasant. That is the perfect solution here. I'm just going to put in a few screws. I don't really need to plug much in. I want to show you guys that it works. I want to show myself that it works after messing with it. I'm going to plug in USB-C port. And of course I ran a cable under the board. It's another thing I tend to do. Luckily I could get that one though. So here we go. Will this work? Try and cover that because I don't want. We have a light. See Apple logo. And it works. So this is a working MacBook. I'm going to finish reassembling this. Alright, what should we do? Finish for reassembling this or move on to a different board? I'll probably move on to a different board. This board is not going to be a MacBook board though. So this is a board from a welder, I guess, and this, I guess, was having inconsistent performance, and someone did this a while ago, and this look at this. Does this look like something that is going to perform well? I mean, when the pads are, let's see, there's one pad that is peeling up. It's just garbage work. So what I have to do is, this chip should be here today. In fact, it may be outside now. I don't really want to go outside unless I know it's in the mailbox. So let me check tracking on that. If that's the case, I'm going to pull this chip off. What this is a quad low power amplifier, I guess. This I am going to take a picture of because I won't remember the orientation. And I have a feeling this is just going to fall apart when the board is just going to fall apart when I start to remove that. So I don't want to use hot air on this because hot air is just going to cause that board to bubble up, but I'm going to have to run a lot of wires to the traces on this because it's just in really poor condition. So I'm going to start with that. Have to wick the old solder away. And it's going to be junk lead free, I'm sure. Yeah, this soldering is no good. Hi, Vladimir. No, I think this was a repair place that tried to repair this. Video output low. How's the stream going? Is it choppy or it just came up video output low, so when traces are bubbled up like that, I don't really trust them, so I'm probably going to run wires to that. Looks like cheap rosin flux is used on that poor thing. Probably. That or no flux, or just the flux in the solder. That's another common thing that people do. Yeah, these poor pads. This chip was supposed to be conformal coated too, and it wasn't. After they're done working on it, and in the environment that this board is working in, it will burn up fairly quickly, and that's what happened. The legs of this chip were all corroded and nasty, which is no surprise. So the bit rate, can I change the bit rate? Let's see. Output, streaming. Okay, that should look better. Let me know if it's not. Or if it starts, you know, or the frames go down or something like that, let me know. I don't think it will though. Okay, cool. Looks better. The bitrate was really low. These chips like this are always going to be a pain to pull out. But there you go. It's out. Let's see if our new chip is here. We're currently experiencing difficulties with our tracking application. We thank you for your patience while we work to resolve this issue. Please check back. So that means it may be outside or it may not be outside. So that means I have to go outside in the rain and cold to go see if the chip is in the mailbox. Agreed. Poor board. It's bleeding and look, someone hurt you right here too. Oh, I know what someone did. Someone replaced you and didn't conformal coat you again, so you corroded. Sad. People are mean to poor boards. They don't even deserve to be treated like this. I mean, look at this. They tore up pads. Alright, I'll be right back. Let's see if the chip is there. No chip. No mail yet either. So I can't really do much on this until I get the chip, which could arrive anywhere from a couple minutes to a couple hours. I probably want to check those resistors that are corroded. They're probably fine. But I really have no way of testing this without I really have no way of testing it, so I'll probably just replace those resistors too. This chip right here is going to get replaced too. Oh, you know what that is that got burned off? That's the conformal coat. Cause see how on these pins, see how this is conformal coated? You know, if you heat this up, I bet it's going to change the same color. Yeah, see? So that's what that is. It's the conformal coat burning off. But yeah, I can't really do much. See, this chip too was... Those pins don't look too good. They're kind of rusted and don't look very healthy, so I'm going to replace that too. That chip is 70 cents. I think that cap actually... Yeah, this cap is no good. I think that cap just spit its guts out. Oh yeah, this board definitely has several years of runtime on it. This, yeah, see, look. Healthy side of cap. Not healthy side of cap. I think this chip right here was changed in 2006, so... So that... We'll change that cap too. Okay, this is later on. I'm going to finish reassembling this touch bar because that's what will immediately get me money. I wonder if the whole issue is that capacitor, because they complained of inconsistent performance and low output, so that could very well be. Probably have that capacitor somewhere. Touch bar. Tim needs to fly high to California to reassemble for him. Yes, that is an excellent idea. Who else would want to assemble stuff? Of course, Apple has to use T5s, T4s, and T3s on these, so here's my T4. This is what I hate about. I need to get a proper set of screwdrivers. These little bits are a huge pain because you're constantly not losing them, but just misplacing them. Here's T4. Here's another T5. Yes, this is MG Chemicals Flux Remover, which I haven't been able to find anymore out here, so probably something else banned by the state of California. It really gets ridiculous on what they ban, and it's just a lot of it's nonsense. Not sure, Vladimir. Mine goes up to 30 volts, but not 36. Maybe get two and daisy chain them together. That'll give you 60 volts. Now hopefully everything will work, including the trackpad and stuff with wires going to the connector. I'm sure it will, but these connectors are a pain too right here. For the speaker. Yeah, daisy chain and power supply. You get the output, have two of them, have the output tied together, 30 on each, and you get 60 volts. Totally safe way, an efficient way of doing something. Theoretically, it would work. I hate these little coax connectors. Sometimes these are, once in a while, they can be a pain clipping in. you kidding me? So look what I did. I put the board in, right? And there's a little flex connector right there that is under the board. Now, I do not want to take this board out, so I'm going to try my best to get this out without doing that. If you're a repair tech, you know about stuff like this. Happens to all of us. I don't want to rip this either. Come on, go in the connector. There we go. Hopefully the screen doesn't have issues because it did get liquid in it, but that's not really my problem. Get our Touch ID connector. So I want to show you guys in the microscope what I mean by that. Don't rip this one. So this cable right here, do not rip this. Whatever you do, do not rip this one connector. So just be careful around this one. It's not really too bad. Just set it down, plug it in, and do not break this. Feel free to break any other connector in the machine, but not this one. Not this one or this one. Or this one. This is another important one you don't want to rip. That's for the touch bar though, that could be replaced. Yeah, that's true. You never really notice that until it's already assembled or the customer calls and says something random isn't working, like their headphone jack or something. That's the worst kind. Alright, Tony, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Another one of these where the customer ripped the grommet off of the little display board, and that's probably that display is probably toast. It would not surprise me. Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah, it's always on the back side of the board or in some strange location, and it always has to be. Another one that gets me is the HDMI connection for the retinas on the I/O board. On the 1398s, I'll always forget to put that cable back in, then I have to take the board out after it's all reassembled because there's no HDMI cable. The screw length is important on these, so that's what I'm doing right now is I'm getting the correct screw. Have them all memorized, but still have to find the right one. Well, Apple's no different. This machine has like at least 6 different screw sizes. You get a lot of these where people put the wrong screws in the wrong holes because they don't really know what they're doing or know where the screws go. So that's a big problem on these two. At this board I replaced a ton of components on. I didn't stream that part of it, but at least it was solved. There's one screw missing for this one shield, so I have to find that screw. See, I probably have an extra right over here. Extra screws are something that just kind of appear. You know, you'll just collect extra screws eventually. When you assemble devices and put all the screws back in, and then after you have 3 or 4 screws that are somehow there, even though you put all the screws back in. The mystery of a repair shop. Just like this shield right here. Hopefully I have 2 more screws for that one. I think I do. Yeah, Lenovo T-Series is good. They are a pain to service, but they're good computers. Seems as I'm missing a screw. And there isn't any extras in the extra pile. But how can that be? Is there any up here? Nope. Oh well. One missing screw is not gonna ruin the day. So in this case, I don't want to put that shield on. Actually, you know what, that's fine. It's tight enough, it's not gonna go anywhere, so that's fine. So let me plug in the battery, and then we'll test trackpad and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure the trackpad is gonna be fine, but I did replace that connector. And you know what? Does that cable look good? Let me take the cable off and have a look, because if the connector was that bad, I bet the cable is going to be just as bad. And I probably need to clean that. And that's not good. That screw is stripped. It's another thing on these touch bars. The screws strip a lot easier than the older ones. If you, for whatever reason, grab the wrong bit like I just did, this is what will happen. They're nothing like the older MacBook screws. They're made a lot cheaper. So when this happens, you just have to kind of get in here. Let's grab our T4. Hopefully we don't make it worse. I don't think we will, though. And you kind of have to dig it in there. If I can get it, let me see. And I can't. Try with the T5. Yeah, see how it's just like complete like pot metal. It's not. Yeah, whatever. I'll have to get the Dremel, I guess. Let's see if it works. But yeah, these screws are junk on these as well. This is something you'll run into a lot, I bet. Because I know I run into it fairly often too. But yeah, I'll get that out. It happens. But let's test this thing now. Almost like they're aluminum. I almost wonder if that's what they are, because it is just really soft, unusually soft. I don't really think there's much risk of the cable. Oh, you know what? That's a good idea. Let me do that now. I completely forgot about the cutter trick. Yeah, and this shield does not deserve to go back on. There's really no need for it. Now let me see if I can get it with my T5. Yes. Hi Bailey, it's going good today, so thank you for asking. Alright, so what was I going to do? Inspect the trackpad connector or cable. And I'm glad I did, because that does not look good. Yeah, that does not look good at all. So what I'm going to do is try and touch this up, or clean it at least, and hope that the trackpad works. This is super common on these as well. For the most part, that looks okay to me. It just needs to be cleaned. Maybe touched up a little bit. There. It's good enough. Not the best, but I'll put in the notes if it has issues, replace the trackpad cable, because this is going to a repair store. So if the trackpad works, I'll be pretty confident that this is good to go. Of course, I'll do some more stress testing off camera. I always do. But I'm fairly sure this will work. Or not. CPU is getting warm. Should have turned on by now. Let's try a different port. Okay, so what this means is most likely there is something in the enclosure that is preventing it from not turning on. But the CPU is getting a little bit warm. Wait, there we go. Just needed a minute. Oh, that's why the battery's unplugged. Okay, as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see that. Trackpad is working fine. It clicks. We have haptic feedback. So this is good to go. The issue with it not coming on immediately was the battery wasn't plugged in. and if these will act a little bit funny when the battery's not plugged in, but otherwise works. SSD works. That was the original issue it came in for. It booted without the SSD, so I think we are good. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I'm going to go get some lunch and call this one a success. And then maybe tomorrow I'll stream that other board, the industrial board. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.